Psychonauts. Today I want to talk about telepathy on acid. First I want to share a couple of seemingly telepathic experiences that I've had on acid. The first time I was on a camping trip. The dose was around 200 micrograms of 1p LSD and I was with my boyfriend. I remember laying down in the tent and my boyfriend was outside of the tent, or he was getting out of the tent for some reason. And what I remember is I had the distinct impression that I was hearing his thoughts. Now, I was looking at his face and his mouth wasn't moving. I mean, he wasn't talking from my perception of it. But I could hear his voice. He was saying very mundane things. It wasn't any really abstract things. They were words. I think I did ask him about if he was talking, and he did say no. Now, some explanations, he could have just been talking really quietly, sort of mumbling something under his breath, and I just didn't see his mouth move. And then I just, with the extra enhanced perception, I was able to just pick up on that. Another thing I think is a pretty likely explanation is that, so he wasn't talking, that he was just thinking these things, but that there's really subtle nonverbal cues that directly correlate with the exact words that he's saying. So I think that there might be some really subtle things that go on with the brain, and there might be really small face movements, and I was able to pick up the words that he was thinking. I think that might be a kind of likely explanation, or we just have the straight up explanation that I was just hearing his thoughts, which I don't know. I don't know what consciousness is. I don't know what the mind is, and I think that there might be more to some of these telepathic experiences than we think, but I'm open to a lot of different explanations, and I haven't been convinced one way or the other yet. Another experience I had was on LSD. The dose was, I think, around the same. I think it was only around 200 micrograms, and I was laying in bed. It was during the peak, and I remember thinking in my head. I was thinking in words. I was using the voice in my head, my internal voice, to speak. My boyfriend was laying next to me, and he could hear me. He could hear that internal voice in my head. And I remember I took notice of this and I said something about it. I said, I'm just thinking right now, or, I'm just talking inside my head right now. How can you hear me? But yeah, so that experience, I felt like we were communicating and we were having a conversation without any of us speaking. We were having a conversation with our internal voices. This one is a little bit weird because I remember so much certainty in the feeling that I was using my internal voice. I really didn't think I was using my external voice, but we were having a conversation, going back and forth. We were having a dialogue. And I think other people have had this experience too. Now, some explanations could be that, we weren't actually having a conversation. I don't know if we talked about it after the trip. It's, recalling trips can get kind of messy anyway. There is enhanced, connection and communication on psychedelics, so that's a good possibility. One easy explanation is that we were actually talking, but we just, for some reason, had the perception that we weren't talking. For this specific instance, I really do think that it had something to do with there only being one mind, and I made a video all about the concept of one mind, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure of this one mind thing sometimes. I don't know, I try to remain skeptical of a lot of things, but I really do think fundamentally there is some truth to the idea of oneness of mind. So if everything is really this one giant connected mind, or there's this one mind and we're all sort of just tuning into it, it would make sense that telepathic communication would be possible. If we're just these little separate bubbles in this big mind, this big consciousness, and if LSD dissolves our boundaries and we connect with this big consciousness, I mean, that could be why we open the doors to telepathic communication. I think I have more ideas that I want to get into on this, but really I just wanted to share some of my stories about telepathy on acid and see if anybody else has experiences. I know other people do. I've seen plenty of trip reports of telepathy on acid or more broadly other psychedelics. Anyway, that's all for this video.